You've probably seen them online. People today, in the 21st century, passionately arguing the Earth is flat. Wild, right? But what if I told you the popular idea that everyone in the Middle Ages believed the same thing is actually a modern myth? That picture of medieval folks terrified of sailing off the edge of a pancake Earth? We're here to bust it. Today, we'll uncover what educated people back then really knew about our planet's shape, explore the ancient wisdom they built upon, and investigate how this whole flat Earth fairy tale about their supposed ignorance got started centuries after the Middle Ages. Chapter 1: The Enduring Myth. So why does this idea of a medieval flat Earth stick around? It's often used to paint the Middle Ages as a dark age of superstition. But did scholars, artists, and leaders really think they were living on some kind of cosmic dinner plate? The historical record says no. For the educated, a spherical Earth was the standard view. This mistaken idea doesn't just get the facts wrong, it warps our understanding of an entire millennium. Time to set that record straight. Chapter 2: Ancient Legacy, Medieval Scholarship. The idea of a round Earth wasn't a medieval discovery. It was ancient wisdom, passed down from classical times. And medieval scholars took good care of it. The ancient Greeks got the ball rolling. Think of Pythagoras, way back in the 6th century BC, often said to be the first to suggest a spherical Earth. Plato in the 4th century BC also described a globe in his important work Timaeus, a key text that luckily survived into the early Middle Ages. And Aristotle, around 330 BC, offered real evidence. When you travel south, you see different stars, and the Earth casts a round shadow on the moon during a lunar eclipse. A clear sign it wasn't flat. Hellenistic astronomy sealed the deal. By the 3rd century BC, for astronomers in the Greek-influenced world, a spherical Earth was seen as a physical fact. This understanding was the foundation of medieval cosmology. Throughout the Middle Ages, educated folks, theologians, monks, scientists, and university scholars nearly all accepted and taught that the Earth was a sphere. Augustine of Hippo, a major figure in Western Christian thought, argued for Earth's roundness. Isidore of Seville's popular encyclopedias included round TO maps, simple world maps representing the known world on a sphere, the T representing the continents, and the O representing the spherical nature of Earth. John Sacrobosco's treatise on the sphere became the standard university astronomy textbook for centuries, clearly teaching and proving Earth's roundness. It wasn't hidden knowledge, it was in the university curriculum. The idea of a spherical Earth was standard in higher education. Astronomy, which included this concept, was a core subject. Chapter 3: The Round Earth in Medieval Culture. The idea of a round Earth wasn't just in scholarly books, it spread into medieval culture. This suggests more people were familiar with it than the flat Earth myth implies. Symbols of power showed it. Take the globus cruciger. This was literally an orb representing the spherical Earth, with a cross on top. From as early as the 5th century, it became a potent symbol of Christian royal and imperial power. The orb itself signified the Earth, the known world, and the cross on top represented Christ's dominion over that world. So when you saw emperors and kings depicted holding the sphere, it wasn't just a fancy accessory, it was a constant visual statement reinforcing the idea of a round Earth under divine authority. Art often showed a round creation. It wasn't unusual for art to show God the Creator using compasses, the tool for drawing circles and spheres, while creating a spherical Earth. Even church art showed it. 15th century paintings in churches like some in Denmark show Christ with a spherical Earth at his feet, with the known continents displayed on that globe. What about medieval maps, the Mappae Mundi? These were often more symbolic than your modern GPS. But many, like common TO maps, a simple circle with a T dividing continents, were understood as flat pictures of the inhabited part of a spherical Earth. Sometimes these TO maps were shown on a sphere in illustrations. Any attempt to map the world using longitude and latitude inherently meant thinking of a sphere. Popular stories mentioned it too. The idea of a round Earth appeared in stories in everyday languages. Jean de Mondeville's Travels, a medieval bestseller, clearly said the world was round and you could sail around it. Dante's Divine Comedy described the spherical Earth, discussing time zones and star patterns. Chaucer, the Canterbury Tales, casually mentioned this wide world, which that men say is round. We've seen how the understanding of a spherical Earth wasn't just known to ancient thinkers, it was carried forward and widely accepted by medieval scholars and even showed up in popular culture. If you're finding this journey through historical myths as eye-opening as I do, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more content that sets the record straight. Now, if everyone knew the Earth was a sphere, where did the flat Earth idea even come from? And how did Columbus get dragged into it? Chapter 4: Dissent and the Columbus Confusion. While most scholars agreed the Earth was a sphere, a few people did argue for a flat one. However, and this is important, these folks were exceptions. First up, there's Lactantius, an early Christian writer. He made fun of the pagan idea of a spherical Earth, especially the concept of antipodes, people on the opposite side of the globe. How could people hang upside down? His argument came from misunderstanding gravity and reading scripture very literally. Later medieval thinkers mostly ignored him. Then we have Cosmas Indicopleistes, a 6th century Byzantine monk. He passionately argued for a flat, rectangular Earth shaped like the biblical tabernacle. His work was hardly known in Western Europe then, not translated into Latin until 1706. Even in the Byzantine East, his views were seen as odd. He's pretty much the only medieval European known to have seriously defended a flat Earth idea. Pointing to these rare, unimportant figures is a favorite trick of those who later made up the flat Earth myth. Now, let's talk about Columbus. The popular story often shows him as a lone genius proving Earth's roundness to doubtful flat earther churchmen. This is, to put it mildly, historical nonsense. The actual debate in the 1490s wasn't about shape. By Columbus's time, a round Earth was an accepted fact among educated Europeans. The real argument was about Earth's circumference, its size, and therefore how far he'd have to sail west to reach Asia. Columbus's critics worried about distance, not a waterfall. His critics, not flat earthers, were worried, and mostly right, that the globe was much larger than Columbus believed. They argued the ocean west to Asia was far bigger than he guessed, making his plan incredibly long and dangerous. Columbus, relying on hopeful and wrong calculations, seriously underestimated Earth's true size. So the Columbus debate was a smart discussion about Earth's size, not a fight over whether it was round or flat. Chapter 5: The 19th Century Flat Earth Error. If medieval scholars knew the Earth was a sphere and the Columbus story is fiction, where did this persistent myth come from? It's largely a modern invention, popularized in the 19th century for specific reasons. Who were these myth makers? Washington Irving's 1828 romanticized Columbus biography was a big part of it, with made-up scenes of Columbus arguing against ignorant churchmen. William Whewell made outliers like Lactantius and Cosmas seem more important than they were. But perhaps the most influential in pushing the conflict idea between science and religion were John William Draper and Andrew Dixon White. Their popular books used the flat Earth story to paint the Middle Ages as a time when religion held back scientific truth. Why invent such a myth? The conflict thesis, pushed by Draper and White, tried to show science and religion as always fighting. The flat Earth myth was a handy, if false, example. Anti-Catholic feelings and a 19th century sense of superiority over earlier times also made the myth useful. Chapter 6: Reclaiming a Round Past. So let's be clear. The idea that educated medieval people widely believed the Earth was flat is a false stereotype. A spherical Earth was the main view among scholars, theologians, and scientists, an idea inherited from ancient times and built upon by brilliant thinkers. The flat Earth myth is mostly a 19th century product, historical fiction created to make the Middle Ages look like a time of ignorance. The real debates back then, like Columbus's, were about Earth's size, not its long accepted round shape. Correcting this myth isn't just about being picky with history. It's key to appreciating how smart and lively the Middle Ages really were. A time of universities, saved classical knowledge, and real progress. The medieval world didn't just know the Earth was a sphere, they kept that knowledge alive, used it, taught it, and even showed it in their art. If you enjoyed this journey into history and want to see more of my content, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Check out my sources below, and see you in the next one.